Patten, metaphysical master in a millennial age, and it is my life's purpose to guide you and organizations along an enlightened path. So I invite you to sit comfortably and tune in as I welcome you to the Meta Business Millennial, where we get the real conversations you won't get in the boardroom so that we understand this is exactly the path we need to be on in order to grow, evolve, and thrive. Greetings, I am Erin Patten, also known as Master L, and welcome to the Meta Business Millennial podcast. Today is such a magnificent day. It's also Meta Monday. Back in the day, I used to call these Meta Mondays. And I am just really, really happy to be here with you guys today. So if you haven't already, I highly suggest and recommend and ask of you to follow my channel at I am Erin Patten and across all social media platforms. And also the Meta Business Millennial podcast has its own handle at the Meta Business Millennial podcast. And if you feel called, of course, share this video with a friend, leave me a comment, send me a DM, let me know how this message resonates with you, because as always, collective needs this vibration, okay? So I want to get into today's topic because it always seems like we get through it quickly. And thank you all for tapping in with your comments. And I see y'all in the room. And today I really was inspired to talk about how to sustain a really high vibration while also navigating the challenges of life, of work, of business. And it really was inspired by this book called Think and Grow Rich. And I feel like a lot of people, particularly in the metaphysical space, in the spiritual space, in the manifestation space, are very familiar with this book, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. It was written a long time ago. And actually, two of my mentors, I guess, in the spiritual world, in the spiritual way, Esther and Jerry Hicks, because I actually have never met them, but I've read their books, Ask and It Is Given, and so many of their other books, and listened to, if not all, most of the Abraham Hicks tapes. And it turns out that Jerry Hicks, her partner, used to be a Think and Grow Rich facilitator. So it really made sense that they kind of evolved that practice into what they were doing with Abraham Hicks. And I really want to also build on the Think and Grow Rich methodology, if you will, or mindset, because I want to take it a step further and say know and grow rich. Because when we talk about our vibration, and I really probably am going to talk more metaphysical today because I just feel called to, and I really believe that the collective and especially you folks are ready for this. When we talk about vibrational frequencies, when you say think is, in my view, and also energetically, it still feels like there's doubt, because when you're thinking, you're kind of logically thinking about it, and there's still, facts that need to be determined. Yet when you know something, the knowing is an absolute certainty. And it's also the difference between belief and knowing. Because when you talk about even just the age that we're in, the Aquarian age, the age of knowing, is very different from the Piscean age, which is the I believe age, when we're really just believing the things that people tell us as opposed to knowing it to be true. And the knowing energy is the highest energy, because it's a truth in your being. When you know something, you know it. And really, there isn't anything that can change that, because that's a truth. It's a baseline. And so when you know and grow rich, then that's essentially a guaranteed aspect. Whereas the thinking, there can still be doubt in it. There can still be not necessarily the highest vibrational frequencies and enjoyment and pleasure in the thinking, because we think a lot. We're thinking all day. And when we're not necessarily knowing our truth and walking in our truth and walking in that confidence and walking in that authority and that authenticity, then that's the ease. In that frequency comes the ease. So getting back to the idea of the thinking mind. So the thinking mind is a mind that really is going to always keep going. It's going to, keep you up at night. And, when you're walking on the treadmill, you're going for walks, or you're doing your work, you're constantly thinking, thinking, thinking. And sometimes even I hear from my clients, or I hear from my friends and peers that, even when I meditate, I'm just always still thinking. So when we're talking about the thinking mind, it doesn't always serve us, and I'm moving now into this practice of, getting things done, which is also another, methodology. And as part of that practice, it encourages you to empty your mind, which is also a very common practice of meditation. Yet when you empty your mind, you don't want to forget all those things that were in your head. So you need to capture them, of course. So learning now and embracing now for myself how to capture all those thoughts in a place in my notes, in my calendar, so it can be somewhere out of my mind. I can empty my mind and empty those thoughts somewhere so that I can make sure it gets done, and then allow myself to really move in my knowing, in my creation, in my manifestation. And that is the next level to really sustain what I call that wealth and that happiness beyond what we've ever seen or dreamt of or dreamed of. And this really comes with intentional daily moment to moment practice. So when we're thinking about, or when we're knowing ourselves, and knowing who we are and moving in that knowing, that's when we start to lift our consciousness. And I've spoken to this before, and I want to continue to iterate this, and evolve this point. But when we talk about consciousness, and in the map of consciousness, particularly by Dr. David Hawkins, we understand that there are levels to consciousness. And when you start getting to the levels of knowing, of self-knowing, of self-actualization, then we start to reach those levels of enlightenment. Right. And as we all know, many of us know, or many of those who follow me, part of the vision and the mission for the Meta Business World, my company, is to teach, inspire, empower 700 enlightened business leaders around the world by 2033. Okay. So enlightenment is essentially the highest level of consciousness. And on top of that, there are levels to enlightenment, of course, like you can reach enlightenment and then continue to grow in your enlightenment path as well. So to get to that level of enlightenment, it requires a very deep sense of inner knowing, a very deep sense of self-knowing, and of knowing of God and self. And when we're doing that work, it really takes, that, like I said, that daily practice. And to give you an idea of what I had done in my past, and what I continue to do now about that practice, particularly it's around the mindset, how we speak to ourselves. And I've been recently doing this in my stories, and I really enjoy it. And that's sharing my personal affirmations with my followers. And my affirmations I've built upon for the past, I would say 3-4 years. And I started very simply with recording them into the app. There's this app called Think Up. And I recorded them to the app, I write it down, and then I just play them on repeat. So they just recycle as I listen to my music, sometimes as I take naps, as I go to sleep. And the affirmations are the easiest, best way to reprogram your mind. Reprogram your mind, reprogram your being, reprogram your knowing. Because the more that we are able to consciously and unconsciously know our abundance and our richness and our happiness, then the faster we can accelerate that process of it actually experiencing it and manifesting it in the now moment. Okay. Because when we're not really aligning to that vibration of the happiness of abundance, then we're going to continue to attract all those aspects of our lives that we don't like, those aspects of our lives that are challenging, although we do need the challenges. But essentially, the bad shit, the negative things, the generational traumas that we really feel, what we're seeing out in the world essentially today, the violence, the abuse, the hate, the rejection, all of these things are part of our collective consciousness. And this is why we continue to see it. This is why we continue to feel it. And this is why we continue to experience it. So, as individuals, as enlightened leaders, it's important for us to continue to evolve our own minds, because everything starts in the mind. And I know it's May 20th. Yet it is still Mental Health Awareness Month. So I'm really happy to continue to on this kind of talk about the mind, because our mental is critical. Our mental is essential. Our mental is foundational. So whatever we want in this life, if we want to know and grow rich, if we want to know and grow wealthy, if we want to know and have a healthy relationships, if we want to know and have love in our lives, then we have to be intentional about cultivating this mindset shift, and this programmatic reprogramming of our being. Okay. And for those that are maybe not as familiar with the programming, I'll take a step back and just talk about, my own life. And growing up, I grew up in Third Ward, Houston. I grew up in, a middle class professional family, and black neighborhood, and very much it was, like probably all, baby boomer kids, a very fear laden, anxiety household. And these were the kinds of experiences that we're attracting all the time. Like by 6 years old, I love to share my story. My sister was murdered, my father was in federal prison for 7 years, my mom was in a mental hospital because of course her daughter was murdered. And so this was a very traumatic experience for me as a 6 year old. And then having to grow up in this kind of household, my programming, by the age of 7, they say that's when our whole kind of life experiences are locked in. By the age of 7, it's just like fear based, reaction based, fight or flight based existing. And so I carried this type of programming with me all the way up into my 30s, to the point where, as I've shared before, by the time I'm in my late 20s at Harvard, I had IBS, I'm on sleeping meds, I'm on anxiety medications, because I'm just really laden with so much fear and pressure to perform, fear and pressure to feel like I need to, I'm not safe. Everything was really fear driven in my life. And so for me, it was really important for me to program my mind around abundance, because the fear mind, and we all know what fear is, false evidence appearing real. I really had to reprogram my mind around what is real in my life, or what do I want to be real in my life. Okay. And what I wanted to be real in my life was a feeling of security, a feeling of safety, a feeling of abundance, a feeling of love, a feeling of wealth. And this takes years to cultivate. After 30 years of a fear-based mind, imagine how much longer, or I wouldn't say it would take any longer per se, but it will take some time to reprogram that very, very advanced fear mind. So this is what many of us are being called to do. And I feel like so many folks out there are doing the work. We're really aware of the healing journey. We're really aware of therapy. However, we don't really always know the power that we have as individuals to do it on a daily basis to accelerate our path and our journey. And I've gotten so many great testimonials from folks who have practiced the affirmations, who have looked in the mirror and spoken prosperity over themselves and literally saw instantaneous results. And I just want to say kudos to y'all out there. Kudos to all the folks out there that are really practicing this, because it absolutely works. The Know and Grow Rich methodology is a fail-proof strategy to really get to where you want to go in life and in business. And so getting back to kind of my journey in terms of the reprogramming, so here I am in my early 30s experiencing more devastating losses, with the unexpected passing of my father. One of my best friends is murdered on a trip to Jamaica. Then my mom, a few months later, is attempting suicide. Then it's like, oh my God, like, how do I manage these very heavy grief emotions? Very heavy, emotions of failure in my sense, because I had to, shut down my company. I had to move across the country. I had to live in my childhood bedroom. And I was really, really down on myself. I talk about this all the time. Just a few years ago, this happened. I'm literally writing in my journal, I hate myself. Like, what kind of words are those to tell someone? Like, even to tell yourself, especially. And this was my journey just a few years ago. And so I had to really take the time and the practice to reprogram that hateful mind that I had for myself. I really just wanted perfection. I really just wanted, everything to be right in my life, but I couldn't control any of these horrible things happening to me, these very traumatic things happening to me. And this is what I'm hoping to inspire you and encourage you on your journey, is that we don't always have control of the things happening in our lives in the moment. However, as creators, we do have control to change the things that are happening in our lives, because oftentimes we unconsciously create these hell realities. We unconsciously create these really bad experiences because of our own beingness. So it is our responsibility to change our vibrational frequency. And we change our vibrational frequency first through our thoughts, our thinking mind. And then once we start to embody those thoughts, then it becomes a knowing mind. And then the knowing mind enables the free flowing of ideas, of prosperity, of God's light, of source's light, of all your ancestors that we always speak of, and all these other beautiful, invisible, metaphysical beings that really are supporting us on our journey. Yet we have to be at a vibrational frequency to receive that kind of support. And we get to that vibrational frequency by changing how we feel about ourselves, by reprogramming our mind. And the reprogramming, like I said, it comes in many forms. And the first form is changing the way we speak to ourselves, understanding how powerful these affirmations are. Like, for now, like, I'm going on this fitness journey. And I'm sure some of you that follow me can see that I'm always posting my fitness videos. I set an intention at the beginning of the year. Once a week, I'm going to post my workouts so that I can hold myself accountable in front of everybody. And I've been holding up so far. Now we're in May. I've been consistent. And with that fitness journey, I had to start creating some affirmations around it, because I really was fucked up in my mind around my body. And I know a lot of people probably don't know this about me, and I'm sure everyone has their own body image issues. But I mean, when I was in high school, I went on this crazy extreme diet because I was an athlete and I really wanted to perform well. And after I got off the diet, I developed like a binge eating habit. I had a very bad relationship with food. So for the most of my adult life, I just would stop eating to be skinny, or, eat a lot and then not, and then starve myself. And so I had a lot of fear around this fitness journey. Let me just say out loud. And so when I got with a nutritionist at My Fit Foods, and I started eating more food actually than I thought I needed to lose weight, and getting a trainer and understanding how to take care of my body at a different level, I had to create new thoughts around my body. Because up until now, I've always, looked at parts of my body and was like, oh, I hate this, or I don't like that, or blah, 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 blah. And we're constantly judging ourselves and we don't even realize it. We don't even realize it. And I would go out and do things, or come off my diet, and my nutritionist would ask me why. And I was just like, I just lost control. Well, Erin, then it's time to reprogram your mind around discipline, reprogram your mind around what you can and can control. Reprogram your mind around how you feel about going to the gym. Reprogram your mind around how you feel about exercise. And I was just like, oh, of course, I do that already in my metaphysical practice. Let me bring some of that into my fitness journey. So now I have affirmations that speak to, my body craves exercise and I give it what it wants. And, I love my body, so I feed myself with good, nutritious food. So I really have started to create new affirmations more recently to inspire my fitness journey, because I didn't even realize a harsh mind about my body and my eating that really was precluding my progression and my success in the gym and to reach my body goals. And so that's why when I was posting recently, I was talking about how I was really going after my best body ever. It's something so much deeper than that now, because I realize now I have a healthy relationship with my body. Now I have a healthier relationship with the foods that I eat. I'm not just mindlessly eating snacks because they're fucking there. You know what I'm saying? And that was what I was used to doing. After dinner, just eating some tortilla chips, or eating some popcorn, or eating some, nuts, just eating whatever's there because I can just eat, not because my body needs it, not because I'm even feeling hungry. So, I know this is, a little bit off track in terms of the business aspect. However, it's certainly really related to how we program our mind around the things that we want to achieve. So if there is something, and I'm sure there is something that really is on your heart, that really is on your consciousness, that I really want to do this by the end of the year, I really want to do this in the next 5 years, then start to speak it over yourself. I want to do this in the next month. Goddamn, like I want to get my body together in the next 2 months. So I got to get my affirmations together now. And so we really want to start understanding the power of our mind, the power of our knowing of ourself, and the knowing of the things that we want. And so I really want to encourage you all. And hey, everyone who's speaking to me and hook 'em horns, all the good things. I appreciate the love and also am hopeful that this is starting to resonate and sit with you well, because all of us want to get to our dreams. All of us have really big visions for ourselves and for our businesses, and it fundamentally starts with the knowing. And I talked about affirmations as a key piece, and the second piece is also being able to enjoy the process. Okay, and sometimes when we're doing those affirmations, our mind gets the best of us and we're not really able to believe it. We're not even able to do it sometimes. And trust me, I've been there. I was just there last week. I was so tired one day. My mind was just like, Erin, just go to sleep. You don't need to go to the gym. You don't need to do any work. You need your rest. And that mind, it gets really loud. And so sometimes we need to just get up and go outside. And I know this sounds, very simple, like get out into nature. However, the grounding and getting outside will change your life. You get outside, you get some sunlight, you walk a little bit, you breathe some fresh air, you detach from your cell phone, you detach from your computer, and you will notice a very significant energetic shift in your being. You will feel more energy, you will feel happier, you will feel like you have more power. And that's critical in helping to quiet that mind, because that mind, when it's also telling you not to do what you need to do, it's also bringing up all the old shit and all the old dirt that annoys you, whether it be relationship things, whether it be things that someone said to you that irritate you, or things that someone, did to you that irritate you. All of these things start to come up, and that's very real, and you don't want to ignore it or act like it's not there fundamentally. And I understand how difficult this is, because I've been going through very, tough situations with business colleagues and with friends and with family members that really are challenging me and challenging my being and challenging the way I feel, and I feel hurt and I feel betrayed and I feel this and that. And these are real feelings, these are real emotions, and we need to honor them. And so I don't want to speak about this journey as a rah, rah, positive journey, as a rah, rah, say your affirmations and you get everything you want. You know it and you grow rich. Yes, it's that. And also, yes, it's other things. The other things are the things that we don't often talk about. And those are the painful emotions that we feel. Those are the lonely emotions that we feel. Those are the emotions of betrayal that we feel. And we don't really get a chance to speak to, because no one wants to hear our shit and our problems. Okay. Because everybody else got their own. So if you're not able to always open up to a therapist and open up to a professional or someone like me, a energy healer, or anyone that can really support you, then you have to come to yourself. And this is why I say the meta business world work is so super important, because we are able to hold that space for people who are going through challenges, help them clear that energy away so they can really get to what really matters. You don't have to do this journey alone. And that is a shameless plug, because we really have been called here to engage with each other, to work with other beings, men and women, man and woman, on our journey, learn from each other, grow with each other. And also those who have the capacity and the gifts, such as myself, to help you clear it, bring you to a higher vibrational frequency, so those other lower energies can fall away. The generational things that you inherited can also be cleared. Because a lot of times what we're feeling, what we're going through is not even our own. It's not even our own. And I want you to sit with that. Because a lot of times we're always talking about our ancestors, we're always talking about our genetics and our cellular DNA and all these things. These are memories that are stored and oftentimes trapped in our being, and we feel it, and it becomes what we think ours, but it is not. So when we have that realization, when we have that awareness about things being in our body that don't belong to us, then we need to do the work to clear it. And the clearing comes with working with professionals like me to do the energy work, to do the conversations, to do the transmissions, or other therapists or other professionals who you trust to really support you along your journey. You do not have to do this alone. And investing in yourself is the biggest return you can get in anything in life, for sure. Because when you're able to kind of ride that wave of going back to that higher vibrational frequency along that journey to enlightenment, you will absolutely experience more pleasure in the process. So, we talked about the affirmations, we talked about the energy clearing, getting out into nature, working with professionals to really get you to that higher vibrational frequency. And then the third piece that really can support you in making sure that you lock it all in is, I would say, journaling. That's for some reasons coming to my mind. Someone out there needs to hear this. Really writing it out to yourself, because there are many different ways in which our beings can encode new information into our bodies. And of course, we see, we hear, we speak, and then the writing is almost like a physical way to really lock it in speaking to ourselves and developing that relationship with ourselves and that knowing of ourselves. Because even to this day, I don't do it every day like I used to. However, at least a few times a week, I'm writing things down about how I feel. And even if it's a good feeling, it's a bad feeling, I want to acknowledge it and I want to see it and I want to talk it through myself. Talk it through with myself. And this is critical as you start to raise in that level of consciousness. Is absolutely, you work with healers, you work with professionals to really talk out your issues, get the energy activations you need, the energy clearing that you need. And then it's incumbent upon you, important for you to develop that inner knowing and that relationship to yourself and with God. And that really is easily developed in journaling and writing to yourself, writing out your experiences. And I want to give you a story about my own personal journey, particularly when I was going through that rough time a few years ago and writing in my journal how I hate myself, because I was taking a course at the University of Communication Sciences with Dr. Phil Valentine, and it was a metaphysical psychology course. And we were reading all these amazing esoteric texts like the Kabbalion, the Handbook to Higher Consciousness, and all these amazing books. And also, in tandem with reading these books, we were encouraged to write out our own experiences that reflected what was happening in our coursework and the book. And as we wrote out these reflections of our experiences, it was almost we were taking a third person view, like we weren't in it ourselves. Okay, because as we always like to say in Tai Chi, particularly our Tai Chi practice, the experiences that we have, it's me, but it's not mine. Like, I have these experiences, but they're not my experiences. I'm going out and doing this work. I'm taking care of my child. I'm taking care of my mom, but I'm not that. I am me. And those experiences come and they go. They're not mine. So when you start to do that journaling work, it really helps to detach you from those experiences as being your own, because at the end of the day, they're not you. When you leave this body, those experiences going to stay right here. And you're going to go on to your next journey, your next incarnation, and it's going to be amazing. Of course, going back to God is amazing. So, as we start to detach ourselves from painful experiences, painful emotions, it really allows us to accelerate our healing and accelerate our knowing that we are capable for so much greater, so much more wealth, and so much more richness. And it looks like we're getting quite tight on time here. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. And I really hope that this message really resonates with you in terms of understanding that you have the power and ability to speak life over yourself with affirmations. You can absolutely accelerate your path with energy clearings and working with people like me, working with other energy healers or professionals that can support you along your journey. And then the third piece is cultivating a very beautiful and intentional relationship with yourself through journaling, through writing out your issues, writing out your beautiful successes, and celebrating yourself, encouraging yourself, and loving yourself. So I thank all of you again for joining me. Of course, check me out at I am Erin Patten across social media channels. You can also find more resources for me and my methodology, my meta business methodology at the www.erinpatten.com, of course. And the Meta Business Millennial podcast is here on social media channels as well. So thank you all so much. I look forward to seeing you all next week. Much love and light. Peace. Did you really love this episode of the Meta Business Millennial podcast? Well, I am honored, and I appreciate you subscribing, leaving a review, and sharing it with your friends, because your feedback allows us to co-create more enlightened conversations. And if you're interested in growing your soul now, head over to my website, erinpatten.com, to find all the show notes, links, and free resources to get your energy activated today. In the meantime, stay bright, my friends. Much love and light. Peace.